I swear, every time someone asks me when my life got messy, I want to say something poetic, like the day my heart learned to lie, or the moment I realized love is just a pretty mask over a crime scene. But honestly, it probably started way earlier, like back in middle school when I had a crush on a boy who barely knew I existed. His name was Aiden Hart, and he was the kind of guy who walked through hallways like he already had a movie deal waiting for him after graduation. Golden hair, stupidly blue eyes, freckles that looked like constellations sprinkled across his nose. Meanwhile, I looked like the unofficial president of the Awkward Teenage Potato Association. Braces, acne, eyebrows that deserved their own before picture, clothes that screamed, "My mom buys me multi-packs." And yes, I was that girl. The quiet one. The observer. The one who sat by the window during lunch pretending I liked the view when really I just didn't want anyone to notice how alone I was. Aiden didn't even look at me. Not once. I wasn't even background noise. I was like the static behind background noise. But crushes don't care. They grow anywhere, like weeds in a cracked sidewalk. And mine grew every time I saw him laughing with his friends, brushing his hair off his forehead, high-fiving people like he was the main character in the world's most annoying coming-of-age movie. Everyone loved him, including me. And he had no idea, not even a little. Then high school came. He dated girls who looked like they were auditioning for a teen drama. I kept my distance. I studied. I worked on myself. Slowly, quietly, privately. No one cared. No one noticed. No one except me. Transformations don't happen overnight, and whoever says glow-ups are about makeup or losing weight has never done the real kind. The kind where you break apart and rebuild from the inside out. I learned how to dress myself like I deserved to take up space. I learned to speak like people were supposed to listen. I learned that being quiet didn't mean being weak. And by senior year, I wasn't the same girl anymore. I wasn't trying to be. The weirdest part, Aiden noticed. Like, actually noticed. Not in a you changed your hair way, more like in a who the hell is that way. It happened one morning when I walked into AP Government wearing a fitted black sweater, jeans that didn't swallow my legs whole, and hair that finally did what hair was supposed to do. I didn't even see him looking. People told me later. Apparently, his eyes tracked me like I was a limited edition release. But I found out in the most chaotic way. I had just sat down when my friend Jasmine leaned over and whispered, "Girl, Aiden Hart is staring at you like you owe him money." I rolled my eyes. Shut up. Dead serious. Look. I made the fatal mistake of turning. And there he was, staring right at me, like he was trying to recognize a childhood memory he forgot he had. I nearly died on the spot. And then, of course, he smiled. Slow, curious, warm, like sunlight hitting a frozen window. I swear my brain short-circuited so violently, I still don't know how I passed that class. That was the first spark. The first sign that maybe, just maybe, this crush would turn into something real. I wasn't stupid, though. I didn't assume anything. Guys like Aiden didn't date girls like the old me, but maybe the new me? Maybe. The universe apparently thought so too, because 2 weeks later, we were assigned to the same debate project. A total accident, or fate, or karma realizing it owed me one. He approached me after class, hands in his pockets, leaning against the wall like he'd practiced it in a mirror. "Hey, so we're partners." I shrugged, like I wasn't screaming inside. "Looks like it." He smiled again. "You're different this year." Most girls would have melted. Me? I raised a brow. "Is that your way of saying you never noticed me before?" He froze for a second, then laughed, scratching the back of his neck like he'd been caught in 4K. "Okay, yeah, you got me." That laugh, that was the beginning of the end. Because once you hear a laugh you like, you're done for. We spent hours working together, planning arguments, researching case law, rewriting points until everything sounded perfect. Somewhere between analyzing congressional structure and eating cheap pizza from the school cafeteria, something shifted. He wasn't just cute. He was funny, kind, attentive. He listened when I talked. He asked thoughtful questions. He texted me memes. And I fell. Hard. The night we won the debate, he hugged me so tight I swear my ribs nearly formed a choir. "We make a good team," he whispered. My heart basically threw confetti. Then college happened. He went to Boston, I stayed in the state. We talked, we visited, we flirted. We crossed the line into something almost real. And by sophomore year, we were officially dating. Everyone thought we were perfect. I thought we were perfect. 3 years. 3 stupid, sweet, beautiful years. I thought he was my forever. I thought the universe had carved a heart-shaped path just for us. Until the day I found out who he really was. Spoiler, sweet boys with soft smiles can hide the sharpest knives. But I didn't know that yet. I only knew the boy who kissed my forehead and told me I was his favorite person in the world. The boy who held my hand walking downtown. The boy who met my parents and brought flowers. The boy who told his friends I was the best thing that ever happened to him. You see how easy it is to fall for a dream, especially when the nightmare hides behind it like a shadow waiting for the right light. I should have noticed things earlier, should have questioned the jokes he made about girls on his campus, should have paid more attention when he said stuff like, "Girls are always so emotional," or "Women don't really understand pressure like men do." But love makes you stupid. Not regular stupid, Olympic level stupid. And for years, I let myself believe he was perfect. Until the day everything snapped. The day he revealed the part of himself he'd kept hidden behind charm and boyish grins. The day the glow-up girl finally saw the truth. And let me tell you, finding out the guy you loved is a misogynist is a very specific kind of heartbreak. It's like watching a beautiful house burn down and realizing you never noticed the gasoline cans in the corner. But that part comes later. This is just the beginning. Because before the truth ripped us apart, something else happened. Something that set the stage for everything that came after. It started with an overheard conversation. One that I wasn't supposed to hear. One that changed everything. One that made me question every sweet word he ever said. And trust me, things only get darker from here. You think you know someone after 3 years, until you hear what they say about women when they think you're not listening. Understood. Here is part 2, approximately 3,000 words, with no extra spaces between paragraphs, USA slang, emotional tension, and a rising darkness. If anything needs tweaking before part 3, tell me. Part 2, the conversation I wasn't meant to hear. I can tell you, illustrated story. People always talk about how heartbreak feels. Sharp, brutal, suffocating. But no one talks about the moment right before it happens. The moment when the universe gets real quiet, like it's holding its breath. Like it's waiting for you to hear the thing that's about to crack your whole world. Mine came 3 years into loving Aiden Hart. 3 years into believing I'd won some cosmic lottery by getting the boy I'd once watched from the back of a classroom. 3 years into thinking glow-ups were fairy tales coming true. Funny how fairy tales always leave out the part where the prince has issues. It started on a stupidly normal Saturday, the kind where nothing should go wrong. We were at his apartment near Boston, the one he shared with his friends Sean and Tyler, 2 guys who treated Axe body spray like holy water. The 3 of them were getting ready for a guys' night, which I never minded. I was cool, not clingy. Or at least I pretended to be. I planned to stay in, do homework, maybe watch some comfort show with too many seasons and too little plot. Aiden was in a good mood, kissing my forehead while he put on his watch, joking about how he'd try not to get kidnapped by his own friends. Everything was normal. Normal like a calm before a storm. I didn't know the storm was about to hit me. When the guys left, I curled up on the couch with tea and my laptop. I wasn't snooping. I wasn't even trying. I just needed the charger, which he usually kept in his bedroom. Simple. But when I got close to the door, I realized it was cracked open and their voices drifted in from the hall. They must have stopped right outside the apartment to talk. I swear I wasn't trying to listen, but the universe shoved the words at me anyway. Dude, how do you even manage dating one girl for that long? I'd lose my mind. Aiden chuckled. That laugh I used to love. It's not that deep, bro. Nah, but seriously, 3 years? Couldn't be me. Aiden said, she's chill. She doesn't make everything a whole emotional meltdown like other girls do. I frowned. Other girls? I mouthed silently. I wasn't offended yet. I was just confused. Then Sean said, yeah, but girls are girls, man. They always end up acting crazy. And Aiden answered with the sentence that cracked something inside me so violently, I swear I felt it physically. Yeah, women are kind of built to be dramatic. Give them too much freedom and they start thinking they can run shit. But she's different. That's why I keep her. Keep her. Like I was furniture. A pet. A subscription he'd renew if he felt like it. I was frozen. My brain just went blank. Like someone unplugged me. He kept talking, and each word dug deeper. Honestly, she's not like the usual girls on campus. Those ones act like they're CEOs of their own little reality shows. At least mine knows how to stay grounded, not trying to compete with me all the time. Mine. Not my girlfriend. Not even her. Mine. And not trying to compete with me suddenly made me wonder what he thought relationships were. Tyler laughed. Yeah, man, you got lucky. Most chicks these days are too outspoken, too opinionated, annoying as hell. Aiden replied, facts. I can't with that feminist crap either. Like, chill. Men and women aren't the same. Pick a lane. The world went silent. I felt dizzy. Like I'd stepped into the wrong body, like I was hearing a stranger use my boyfriend's voice. A feminist. I was one. Quietly, privately, in the way most women are without announcing it. I never thought I had to hide that. But suddenly everything clicked. Every comment he'd brushed off, every joke he said didn't mean anything, every time he corrected me in front of people, every time he made me feel like my opinions were cute, not real. He wasn't sweet to me because he respected me. He was sweet to me because he thought I wasn't like other women. A trap many women fall into without realizing they're being set up. Aiden continued talking, laughing like he wasn't dismantling every memory we had. She's good because she listens. She doesn't try to outsmart me. She's easy. Easy. My heart dropped. I stepped back from the door so fast I nearly tripped. My palms were sweating, my breathing uneven. I felt stupid, so stupid. Like my glow-up hadn't made me beautiful, it had just made me useful to him. A pretty accessory that didn't argue. A reward he thought he earned. I walked back to the living room, hands shaking, tea gone cold. I didn't cry yet. I just sat there, staring at the wall like I'd discovered a hidden camera and realized life had been a prank all along. My thoughts were scrambled eggs. He didn't mean it. He was just joking. Guys talk stupid. But then the truth slithered through all the excuses. He meant every word. He wasn't drunk. He wasn't pressured. He wasn't being sarcastic. He was revealing the part of himself he never showed me. The part I wouldn't have loved. When he finally came back inside, I pretended to be normal. He kissed my cheek, tossed his keys on the table, and said, "Miss me?" I forced a smile so tight my jaw ached. Yeah. He didn't notice anything. Not the stiffness, not the silence, not the way my eyes avoided his. He didn't notice because men like him don't analyze women. They expect women to adjust, to swallow it, to bounce back. And I tried. I really tried for a few days. I kept myself together with mental duct tape. Maybe I could fix this. Maybe I could talk to him. Maybe we could work through it. But the universe wasn't done ripping off masks, because once you hear the truth, you start noticing everything you ignored. Then next red flag came during brunch the next weekend with his friends and their girlfriends. We were at this cute little bistro, the kind that charges $18 for avocado toast and calls itself artisanal. The conversation started light. Jokes, stories, college drama. Then the waitress came. Sweet girl, probably my age. Blush on her cheeks, smiled too rehearsed, the hospitality industry look. She complimented my sweater. I thanked her. All normal. Until she walked away and Aiden muttered, "Girls like that always flirt for tips. It's kind of pathetic." I blinked. What? She wasn't flirting. He shrugged. They always are. That's all girls have to offer anyway, a smile and a push-up bra. His friends laughed. Mine went cold. I said, "That's not true." He looked at me like I'd told him gravity wasn't real. Babe, come on, don't be naive. Naive. The word tasted like poison. I wanted to leave right then, but didn't want to make a scene. That's how women get trained. Don't make it awkward. Don't embarrass him. Smile. Play nice. Die quietly. But then, when we were alone, I tried. I really tried. I said, "Those comments you make about women, they bother me." He sighed dramatically. "Oh, God, don't tell me you're turning into one of those girls." Those girls? He rolled his eyes like I was overreacting to oxygen. Yeah, the sensitive ones. Don't go full feminist on me. What's wrong with being a feminist? Everything. Feminists ruin relationships. They think they can do everything better than men. They don't understand balance. Balance. His favorite word, which really meant men above, women below. What balance? I pushed. He hesitated, and then his real self slipped again. Men lead, women support. I felt like throwing up. So you think I'm supposed to just support you while you lead? It works. It's the natural order. Natural order, I repeated. Like biology. Exactly. He smiled, proud of himself, like he'd solved climate change. Women are wired for emotions, men for leadership. That's just facts. No. That was misogyny dressed in a cheap lab coat, pretending to be science. It wasn't facts, it was fear. Fear of women who think. Fear of women who stand up. Fear of women who don't let little boys play kings. I stared at him, really stared at him, and realized I didn't recognize him. Or maybe I had never known him at all. So I asked the one question that sealed everything. What do you think of me? He leaned in and kissed my forehead. You're different. You're not like the rest. And that was the moment I finally felt it, true heartbreak. Not because he hated women, but because he didn't even realize I was a woman. He loved me because he thought I wasn't like other women. But I am. I'm every woman. Emotional, ambitious, loud sometimes, quiet sometimes, messy, strong, soft, human. And he didn't love that. He loved the version of me he created, a version that didn't exist. After that night, everything spiraled. We argued more. He grew defensive. I grew distant. He said I was changing. I realized I was waking up. And the more awake I became, the more uncomfortable he got. Then came the moment everything snapped completely. The breaking point that sent us into part of the story where love becomes a battlefield. People think breakups happen in one moment. A big fight, a slammed door, a final straw that snaps clean in half. But the truth? Breakups are slow deaths, quiet ones, tiny cuts, 1,000 paper slices you pretend not to feel until suddenly you're bleeding out. After I confronted Aiden about the misogynistic stuff he said, we didn't break up right away. I wish we had. I wish I'd been that girl, the strong one, the one with boundaries made of steel. But I wasn't. Not then. I was still soft for him, still in love with the boy I thought he was, still trying to protect the version of us I'd built in my head. So I stayed. I stayed even when it felt wrong. even when his words replayed in my mind like a glitching horror movie. Even when my stomach twisted every time he dismissed something I said. I stayed for weeks. Weeks where things slowly rotted. We argued about everything. Sometimes small things, like the way he talked over me at dinner. Sometimes big things, like him saying feminism destroyed society and expecting me to nod along like a supportive little houseplant. He could feel me pulling away, and he hated it. His sweetness faded, not all at once, but little by little, like a candle burning down to a stub. The first real shift happened during the group dinner with friends from my campus. They were mostly girls, smart, bold girls who didn't apologize for their opinions. I admired them. Aiden tolerated them. Barely. We were at this cozy Italian place, dim lights, wine glasses clinking, bread baskets landing on the table like peace treaties. Everyone was laughing, talking about internships and travel plans. Then my friend Talia said something simple, harmless. I think women in leadership roles are under more scrutiny, but they still outperform expectations every time. Everyone nodded. Everyone except Aiden. He scoffed, loudly, enough to make the whole table pause. I felt my heart sink before he even spoke. Come on, he said, leaning back like he was about to drop some deep wisdom. Women don't outperform men. Companies hire them because it looks good. Diversity quotas, that's it. The table went silent. Awkward silent. Excuse me? Talia said, blinking like she needed subtitles for whatever he just said. He smirked, his condescending, I know better smirk. I'm just saying, men are naturally better at leadership. It's biology. Women get too emotional. I wanted the earth to swallow me whole. That's not even remotely true, I said quietly. He waved me off. Babe, don't start. You know it's facts. Talia crossed her arms. Wow, misogyny on a Friday night. How refreshing. He rolled his eyes. Here we go. Here we go, she repeated. Dude, you literally said women are too emotional for leadership. Meanwhile, you nearly cried because the Patriots lost last week. The whole table snorted. I tried not to smile. He didn't. His jaw tightened. His eyes narrowed toward me as if it was my fault she clapped back. That look, it made something in me shrink. Later in the car, he exploded. Your friends are rude as hell, he snapped. You let them talk to me like that? They weren't rude. They just disagreed. No, he said sharply. They challenged me. And you didn't defend me. I stared at him. Defend what you said? Yeah. He rubbed his temples. This is exactly what I'm talking about. Women don't know how to respect men anymore. Everything turns into a debate. It's exhausting. I didn't speak. My silence pissed him off even more. So that's how it's gonna be now? He asked bitterly. You're gonna side with every girl in the room just because you want to feel powerful? I swallowed a lump in my throat. It's not about power, I whispered. It's about equality. He scoffed. Same thing. That night, I cried in the shower with the water running so he wouldn't hear. That was cut number 200, maybe. The next one was bigger. A few days later, he asked me to come to a frat party his friends were hosting. I didn't want to go. Loud music, drunk people, sweaty air, frat boys who thought respect was spelled B-R-O-W. But Aiden insisted. He said, it'll be fun. You never go out with me anymore. I agreed, mostly because I was tired of arguing. The party was chaotic. Lights flashing, cups everywhere, beer smell baked into the drywall. Aiden disappeared with his friends almost immediately. I ended up talking to a couple people I knew from high school. One of them was a guy named Evan. Just a passing acquaintance. He asked how college was going. I answered. That was it. A normal, basic 5-sentence conversation. But when Aiden came back and saw me talking to him, oh, he was pissed. He pulled me aside so fast he nearly dislocated my shoulder. What was that? He hissed. What was what?
Don't play dumb. Why were you flirting with him? Flirting? We were literally talking about majors. Yeah, and he was looking at you like he wanted something. He wasn't, I said firmly. Relax. Wrong word? Very, very wrong word. His eyes went cold. Don't tell me to relax. I know how guys are. You think I'm stupid? I think you're overreacting. No, you're being disrespectful. By talking? By entertaining him. My mouth fell open. I'm not property, Aiden. He froze. His jaw clenched. You know what? We're leaving. Seriously? Now. We left. And the walk to the car was silent and icy. Inside the car, he exploded again. You embarrassed me in front of everyone. You didn't even try to stop the guy from talking to you. Why would I stop him? It was harmless. He slammed his hand against the steering wheel. I jumped. Do you even hear yourself? Girls like you don't get it. Girls like you? I didn't ask what that meant. I already knew. Girls who think for themselves. Girls who don't need men to translate their worth. Girls who aren't easy. Something inside me hardened. The next day, I didn't text him first. Small thing, but he noticed. You're being distant. I'm thinking. About what? Us. His reply was instant. Don't overthink. Everything's fine. Everything was not fine. A week passed. A heavy, uncomfortable week. When we met again, he tried to act normal, kissed me, hugged me, talked about finals, but it felt different. His sweetness felt strategic, not natural, not real, like he was trying to smooth over the cracks without acknowledging the earthquake underneath. And then came the breaking point. The moment the slow death finally hit its last cut. We were lying on his bed, scrolling through our phones. He was half watching TikTok, half cuddling me, absent, distracted sweetness. I got up to grab water. When I came back, his phone lit up with a notification. A text from his friend Cian. Cian, bro, you need to get her in check. My entire body went still. A second text popped up. Cian, she's getting too bold. Girls need structure. A third. Cian, tell her to stop hanging around those feminist friends. They're rubbing off on her. My heart pounded as I stared at the screen. I felt sick. When Aiden noticed me standing there, he looked confused. What's wrong? I picked up his phone and held it toward him. Explain? He glanced at it, shrugged, and said, "Oh, that. It's nothing." Nothing? My chest tightened. Why is your friend talking about me like I'm your subordinate? He sighed like I was being dramatic. That's just how guys talk. And you don't correct him? Why would I? He's right. Right about what? You have been acting out. Acting out? Like I was a child? Your friends think I need to be kept in check? Don't take it personally. Don't take it personally. My voice cracked on the last word. That's literally misogyny in full HD. You're doing it again, he snapped, making everything a big deal. It is a big deal. Girls always blow things up. See? This is what I meant. And there it was. The real him. The man he always had been. The sweet boy I loved was just the packaging. The product inside was something else. My voice was shaking, but I forced the words out. Do you even respect women, Aiden? He scoffed. I respect you. No, I said softly. You respect who you think I am. And that girl doesn't exist. Oh my God, he groaned. Here we go. No, I interrupted, my voice finally steady. Here I go. He stared at me. You're seriously doing this right now? Doing what? Starting a fight for no reason. There's a reason, I whispered. I'm done. Silence. He blinked. Once. Twice. Done? With what? This. You're joking. I shook my head. No, I'm not. He stood up so fast the bed shook. You're breaking up with me because of some jokes? It's not jokes. It's who you are. His face twisted. You're being dramatic. Maybe.
I used to think luxury homes were safe, that marble floors and glass staircases and million-dollar views somehow meant the people inside were better, smarter, less messy. Turns out, rich people just hide their mess behind bigger walls. And now I was living inside one of the biggest walls in Westlake, a whole damn palace carved into the hillside, pretending like my life wasn't slowly cracking under my feet. 3 years with Ethan? 3 years of thinking our childhood crush thing had blossomed into some slow burn fairy tale romance. And now I was sitting in his ultra-modern living room, realizing I didn't know him at all. The misogynistic comments he'd been making weren't jokes. They weren't slip-ups. They were the quiet part of him getting louder. But even worse, there were other things slipping through the cracks, things that had nothing to do with misogyny and everything to do with secrets. And secrets in a house like his didn't stay dead. They echoed. It was a Tuesday night, like kind where the whole neighborhood was so quiet it felt fake. The big windows overlooked the lake, lights dancing across the water like glitter someone spilled on purpose. Ethan was upstairs showering after his gym session. I was downstairs trying to stop myself from spiraling. We had been fighting more. Little things, snippy comments, weird tension. His therapist voice, "You're being dramatic" tone had replaced his "You're my whole world" tone. And I had receipts now, literal ones. The week before, I'd accidentally found a Cartier gift bag hidden behind his car tools in the garage. I'm not stupid. Ethan wasn't the luxury surprise kind of boyfriend. He liked when gifts were public so he could get credit, and he never hid them in the garage like he was smuggling illegal diamonds. I didn't say anything then. I was waiting, watching, collecting evidence like I was suddenly auditioning to be an FBI agent. Tonight, though, something felt off. The kind of off where your stomach flips before your brain catches up. I heard a vibration. His phone. Face down on the marble counter. He'd never leave it outside the bathroom. Ethan treated his phone like it contained nuclear codes. But tonight, he slipped. It buzzed. Then buzzed again. Then again. 3 texts. Same contact. No name. Just a red heart emoji. My blood ran cold. The shower was still running upstairs, meaning I had about 90 seconds before Ethan came down in one of his stupid gray towels, pretending like he was in a Calvin Klein ad. I stared at the phone like it had personally tried to assassinate me. I shouldn't look, but also I absolutely should. I picked it up, heart hammering so loud I swore the expensive chandelier above me was vibrating. The lock screen lit up. Heart said, "Heard she's staying over tonight. You okay?" Heart said, "Wish it was me in your bed." Heart said, "Did you give her the bracelet yet?" Smirky face. Bracelet, Cartier, the garage. I covered my mouth with my hand, tears stinging before I could even stop them. My heart didn't break. It cracked like ice under a tire. I clicked the first message to open the chat and footsteps upstairs. Crap! I put the phone down exactly where it was, forced my breathing to calm even though I was practically hyperventilating. By the time Ethan came downstairs, steam trailing behind him, hair wet, muscles looking like he carved them solely to manipulate women, I was sitting on the couch pretending to scroll through Pinterest like a housewife planning Christmas decor. He came up behind me and kissed my head. "Hey, baby." Baby, my ass. I turned to look at him, studying his face like it was new. He looked normal, calm, a little too calm. "Hey, you good? You look off." He always said that when I saw through him. "Just tired." He smiled. The one I used to think was soft. Now it looked like a salesman smile. "Well, I'm starving. Want to order sushi?" Sushi. His solution to everything. He could set the house on fire and say, "Let's order sushi." "Actually," I said carefully, "can we talk?" He froze. There it was. The flicker, the tiny spark of panic he tried to hide. Talk about what? Us. His jaw clenched so tight his temple pulsed. "We're not doing this again, Maya. I told you, you're being sensitive lately."
Sensitive. There it was, the word he'd been using like a leash. Sensitive, dramatic, emotional. All synonyms for woman, in his brain anyway. I swallowed every insult that wanted to come out. If I pushed too hard too soon, he'd retreat. And I needed him comfortable. I needed him thinking I still adored him since we were kids, the one he thought he owned. I just want us to be closer, I lied. We haven't really connected lately. He softened at that. Of course he did. His ego loved it. Oh, babe, come here. He pulled me into his chest. We're fine. You overthink too much. I closed my eyes, counting to 3, memorizing every piece of this moment because I knew I'd need it later. The way he smoothed my hair, the way he assumed I was stupid, the way he believed my silence was obedience. But I was done being the girl who loved him so deeply I ignored the red flags waving right in my face. He didn't know it yet, but this relationship had already ended. I was just collecting my evidence before detonating the truth. Over the next week, I turned into someone I didn't recognize, in the best way. A quiet shadow version of myself, smiling when I needed to, playing dumb when he tested me, acting like I didn't see his misogynistic comments slipping out more frequently. He'd say things like, "Women are too emotional to run anything big. Girls only glow up for male attention. No offense, but women just lie better." Yeah, irony noted. I kept track of everything. Not because I needed proof for me, but because if I was going to walk away after years of being blinded by my childhood crush, I wanted justice, closure, a clean burn. But he wasn't just misogynistic. He was tactical, secretive, too good at making himself look like Prince Charming in public. And now I knew why. He was juggling me and whoever hard emoji girl was. I had a theory. I needed confirmation. So, Friday night, after he told me he had a late meeting, I tailed him. I know, it sounds insane, but so was betraying me in our shared life like I wouldn't notice. He drove his black Audi downtown to a luxury high-rise. Valet took his keys. He walked in like he'd been there 1,000 times. I stayed in my car, hood up, anxiety thrashing through me like a storm. 30 minutes later, he still hadn't come out. When I finally saw him through the glass lobby, my stomach dropped. He was laughing. Laughing. With a girl. Not a girl. A woman. Tall, stunning, wearing a fitted cream dress and expensive heels. The kind of women men write poems about, and women want to punch. His hand rested casually at the small of his back like it belonged there. She gave him a wrapped box. He kissed her cheek. She kissed his. My heart didn't just break this time, it shut down completely, like a power outage. They got into an elevator together. I couldn't breathe. I should have gone home, cried, screamed, burned his clothes, something dramatic and justified. Instead, I sat there in my car so long my hands went numb on the steering wheel. Then something inside me shifted. A little click. A little snap. I wasn't the girl who got my heart broken. Not anymore. I wasn't the girl who got overlooked. Not the girl who cried quietly so no one would know. No, I was the girl who grew up, who had a glow up so big the guy I'd crushed on since that forever crawled after me. And now I was the girl who was going to finish this story on my terms. The next morning, Ethan acted perfectly normal. Brought me coffee in bed, made pancakes, kissed my shoulder. Everything he did was for show, his biggest talent. "Got a surprise for you tonight," he said casually. "Really?" My voice sounded light, airy, fake. Good fake. He smiled. "You're gonna love it." I almost laughed out loud. He really thought he was smooth. "Can't wait," I said sweetly, but inside, my plan had already blossomed into something sharp. That night, he got all dressed up in a navy suit, hair slicked back, cologne so strong it practically yelled, "I'm hiding something." We drove to a rooftop restaurant overlooking the entire city. Candlelit tables, white tablecloths, rich people whispering instead of talking like normal humans. Ethan held my hand walking in like he was starring in his own movie. We ordered food. He barely ate, kept checking his watch like an impatient kid. "You okay?" I asked.
pretending to be sweet, but secretly enjoying his discomfort. Yeah, just excited. He took a deep breath. So, listen, I've been thinking a lot about our future. Future. My eye twitched. And I got you something. He pulled out the Cartier bag. The bracelet. The one she gave him. I swallowed a laugh. He really said re-gifted jewelry. Peak trash behavior. He pushed the box towards me. Open it. I opened it slowly, dramatically. The gold bracelet sparkled under the candlelight. It's beautiful, I whispered. You deserve it, he said, looking proud of himself. You've always been special to me, Maya. Since we were kids. Special. Not respected, not valued, just special. Thank you, I said. He smiled, relieved. I knew you'd love it. That's when I reached into my purse and pulled out a small envelope.
What's that? He asked. A gift for you, I said. He raised an eyebrow. You didn't have to get me anything. Oh, trust me, I said softly. I absolutely did. He opened it. Inside were photographs, printed screenshots, time-stamped, dated. Him with the mystery woman, him leaving the building at midnight, his texts, her texts, everything. His face drained of color like someone unplugged him from reality. What the hell? He whispered. Surprise, I said with a smile. He looked up at me, eyes wide, panicked. Maya, no, I interrupted. Let me talk, for once. He shut up. You lied to me. You disrespected me. You called women emotional, dramatic, manipulative while doing all those things yourself. You treated me like I was lucky to have you, when in reality, you should have been grateful I even liked you back. He swallowed hard. And the saddest part? I leaned forward. I thought our story was meant to be. Childhood crush, glow up, love story. But you ruined it. You chose to. And now I'm choosing me. Maya, it's not... I pulled out the second envelope. What's that? He asked, voice shaking. Copies, I said. For her. His face broke. And the third envelope is already in the mail, I added. To your boss. He went pale. Maya, please, don't do this. Oh, baby, you did this. I stood up. He reached for my arm. Wait, I pulled away. You don't get to touch me anymore. He stared at me like his whole world was collapsing. Maybe it was. I walked away from the table, heels clicking against the marble like punctuation marks. People stared. I didn't care. Let them watch. Let them witness the ending of the story I should have walked away from years ago. But as I approached the elevator, a chill swept through me because I knew Ethan, and he wasn't the kind of man who let go easily. He was the kind who controlled, manipulated, hid secrets behind expensive suits and perfect hair. I wasn't safe yet. This wasn't over, not by a long shot, and I could feel it in my bones. I used to think revenge was some movie thing, cool, cinematic, slow motion, perfectly orchestrated. In real life, revenge is messy. It's cold, quiet, and hits when you least expect it. By the time I reached part 5 of my own story, I realized I wasn't the same girl who sat in the back of the middle school classroom crushing on Aiden Hart, or Ethan, as he'd become in his corporate and luxury persona. I wasn't innocent anymore. I wasn't soft. I had strategy, patience, and just enough venom to make a king fall off his pedestal. Ethan had built his life like it was untouchable, a golden empire full of glass floors and polished marble, perfect Instagram-worthy smiles, parties that made people think his friends were models, his girlfriends flawless, and his women obedient. He thrived on that illusion, and I was about to pull the rug out while he watched, paralyzed. The first step was gathering the receipts, the dirt he thought he buried under his wealth and charm. Secret messages to women he was juggling, business lies, his bragging about how easy it was to manipulate the right women. I saved screenshots, printed copies, even recorded conversations when I could. Every bit counted. I didn't just want to leave him, I wanted him exposed, stripped of that carefully curated image. Then came the social engineering. You'd think it sounds petty, but in the world of wealthy men like Ethan, image is currency. One little leak, one strategically placed piece of proof, and the whole empire wobbles.
I contacted one of his closest colleagues, someone who had access to his board meetings and private emails, under the guise of a mutual concern. Slowly, subtly, I introduced doubts, hints, little facts that didn't quite add up, nudges that would make them check themselves. Meanwhile, Ethan, completely unaware, continued acting like the perfect boyfriend. He brought me flowers, cooked breakfast, flirted like nothing had happened. But I was already gone mentally, already calculating every move. The moment came during a weekend at his lake house, an ultra-modern monstrosity with walls of glass, infinity pools, and a view that made people forget their bank accounts were smaller than his. He thought he was inviting me for a romantic getaway. I invited his world into my trap. I hosted a dinner party. Casual, just friends. But every single guest had seen the texts, the messages, the lies. Everyone knew I'd been silently collecting the truth. The table was set with crystal glasses, dim candlelight, and the tension underneath was thicker than the filet mignon on the plates. Ethan didn't notice, not until the first toast. "To truth," I said, raising my glass. Everyone clinked politely. "And to honesty," I continued, voice steady, "even when it's uncomfortable." He smiled, thinking I met our relationship. The room went quiet. One of his colleagues cleared their throat and, casually, mentioned the discrepancy in a recent corporate deal, including names that tied Ethan to actions he swore were confidential. I watched him freeze, the smile slipping off his face like watered-down glass. He tried to recover, joking about misunderstandings, but everyone had the screenshots, the emails, the receipts. His empire of charm was crumbling. His friends shifted uncomfortably, avoiding his gaze. The women he was juggling, they got the packages I had sent, copies of everything. Contracts, receipts, messages. Publicly, privately, digitally. By the end of the night, Ethan sat at the head of the table, face pale, watching his carefully curated world unravel around him. No one spoke to him anymore, no one smiled, no one laughed at his jokes. He was king of nothing. I finished the evening with a final remark. Quiet. Lethal. I hope this is a wake-up call, because people who manipulate, lie, and control, eventually, everyone sees. I left the house that night feeling light, free. The glow-up girl, the broken girl, the girl who had been controlled for years, all combined into someone unstoppable. But the story wasn't over. Ethan wouldn't just disappear quietly. Rich men with control issues don't admit defeat. They lash, they maneuver, they try to reclaim what they think is theirs. And that's when the darker side came into play. Emails started circulating at his office, board members questioning his integrity, partners pulling out of deals. One by one, he lost the friends who made his world look flawless. The media started sniffing, small outlets at first, local business pages, lifestyle blogs, then a bigger story. By the time the week was over, Ethan's social image was toast. The press hadn't even asked for his side. The proof I'd compiled was enough. And through it all, I stayed quiet, calm, observing, watching him crumble. The boy I loved, the man I thought I could trust, gone. Replaced by a fragile ego, shivering in a world that suddenly saw him clearly. I remember driving away from his house that night, city lights blurring past, heart racing, mind finally at peace. Not revenge for revenge's sake, but justice. Justice for the years I spent thinking love was enough, for the misogynistic comments, the manipulations, the control, for every time he told me I was special, while proving I was replaceable. My phone buzzed. It was a notification from one of the women he had been seeing. It said, "Thank you. You saved me from him." And I realized something crucial. This wasn't just about me. It was about every woman who had been gaslit, controlled, or underestimated by men like him. I smiled. Hard. Real. Realizing the power of truth, and that glow-up girl,
She wasn't fragile. She was dangerous in the best way. A week later, I saw Ethan on a news feature, suit perfect, smile, forced, explaining a misunderstanding in his company. He looked fragile, broken, publicly humiliated, and privately, I felt nothing. No heartbreak, no longing, just relief. And maybe, just maybe, a little pride. Pride that the girl he thought he owned had grown so much that the boy he thought he controlled was now learning to live in the shadows he created for himself. That's when I knew the story had ended. The glow-up girl had won. The misogynist? Gone. Invisible. A cautionary tale. And me? I was finally free. But freedom isn't about moving fast. It's about moving smart. About knowing the monsters when you see them and making sure they don't rise again. I'd lived the nightmare, survived it, and now I walked into the sunlight of my own making. Unapologetic, unstoppable, and finally, loved by the most important person in my life. Myself. I still think about Ethan sometimes, not with longing, but with gratitude. Gratitude that he showed me the truth, that he revealed himself, that I didn't waste my life on someone unworthy. And somewhere deep inside, I know he'll never forget the glow-up girl who finally took control. The girl who collected every lie, every manipulation, every betrayal, and built a castle of truth on top of it. The girl who didn't just survive, she conquered. And she did it without looking back.
The sun was hitting the city like it had a personal vendetta the morning I finally felt free. I hadn't realized how much tension I'd carried in my chest until I breathed in without thinking about him. Ethan, the boy, the man, the manipulator who had stolen 3 years of my life while wearing a golden mask. It's weird how quiet life feels when the storm finally passes. No one is texting you to gaslight you, no one is sending smug smiles across a room where you feel trapped, and no one assumes that your glow up means you're suddenly property to be admired and controlled. I spent that morning in my apartment overlooking the skyline, coffee in hand, heart finally beating at its own pace. My body relaxed like it had been on hold for years. Ethan? He was a headline in the business section. Bankruptcy rumors, lawsuits, and social humiliation stacked like dominoes against him. His friends and colleagues who used to laugh at his misogynistic jokes quietly removed themselves from his orbit. Some called it karma, I called it justice, and it felt sweet but clean. No petty gloating needed. The women he had been juggling, they reached out. Some to thank me, some to vent. One even laughed when she told me he had tried to charm her back with an apology and flowers after the story went public. I didn't respond to all of them. Some I did, but mostly I just listened, let them speak, and smiled inside. I wasn't the same girl who cried silently while he dismissed my feelings. I was the girl who could watch the truth land like a hammer and not flinch. And that's the part that felt like real life. Seeing everyone around him exposed, understanding that he could manipulate, charm, and control no longer, while I had walked away stronger. My friends, they were amazing. They rallied around me while I silently built my case against him. They had seen pieces of the manipulation, glimpses, comments, moments I tried to hide because I still loved him, still believed there was good in him. Now, they celebrated quietly, happy I'd chosen myself over the golden cage he'd built. Talia, the one who had once defended herself at brunch against his ignorant commentary, invited me over one Saturday. "You look unstoppable," she said. I laughed. "I feel like it." "Good. You need to. He can't touch that part of you anymore." Sean and Tyler, the ones who used to joke about controlling women like property, their role was curious. They were ostracized slowly by Ethan, too. I didn't have to do anything there. The empire Ethan had built on misogyny and shallow charm collapsed on its own. Watching it fall without lifting a finger felt like a small miracle. The night the final pieces fell, I sat on my balcony, city lights glittering below, and reflected. My relationship with Ethan had been intoxicating at first. Childhood crush, slow-burning love, the excitement of finally being seen after my glow-up. But underneath it was manipulation, misogyny, control, and lies. And I survived. I thrived. I didn't just walk away, I rose. For a while, I wasn't sure who I was without him. The glow-up girl he loved, that version wasn't real. The girl who loved him blindly, that girl didn't exist anymore. What existed was me. Full, alive, unapologetic, strong, independent, capable of seeing people for who they really were before it was too late. And yes, I still felt flashes of heartbreak, the what if moments, the memories of innocence and hope, but they were like shadows at the edge of my vision, not chains holding me down. I started dating myself in ways I never had before. Mornings of meditation, journaling, trips to places I had always wanted to see. I spent weekends with friends, laughing without caution, traveling without worry, investing in my career and passion projects. I didn't need validation from anyone, and I didn't seek it. It was intoxicating. Ethan became a story I told quietly, sometimes laughing, sometimes just shaking my head. His downfall wasn't my victory over him personally. It was the closure that let me finally step into my own life without fear or doubt. He tried a few moves, emails, phone calls, desperate attempts to explain or manipulate, but I was a ghost to him. He had nothing left on me. No leverage, no charm, no fear. I realized something else too. My parents and family, they saw the shift. They noticed how I carried myself differently now, how I didn't let anyone control my choices, how I demanded respect. They were proud in ways they hadn't been when I stayed quiet or tried to adapt to someone else's world. They watched me thrive and understood, finally, that the glow-up wasn't just external. It was me fully in control of my own life. And my friends who had supported me, they became my chosen family, my constant, the people I trusted with everything. The network I never realized I needed was finally there. As for Ethan, he learned too late that women can't be boxed, controlled, or underestimated forever. And as for me, I walked forward into life like sunlight spilling through a glass palace, shining, unstoppable, and finally whole. That night, I poured a glass of wine, opened my journal, and wrote, I am free, I am seen, I am loved by the person that matters most, me. The past tried to define me. I erased it. And I smiled. A real, deep, unshakable smile. Because that's the kind of love story that lasts. Not fairy tales, not princes, not golden cages. But the one where you choose yourself, rise, and thrive. As for Ethan, he learned too late that women can't be boxed, controlled, or underestimated forever. And as for me, I walked forward into life like sunlight spilling through a glass palace, shining, unstoppable, and finally whole.